Welcome to Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. Coming up on today's show, we get into the latest Bears news, rumors, and reaction from Shane Waldron and Eric Washington's press conferences at Halas Hall today as the Bears finally introduced their two new coordinators. Let's get into a Bears rumors roundup stemming off of that. We'll start with Shane Waldron here. And did Waldron tip his hand at quarterback? And I was kind of in between 1 and 2 smoking Jays. It's like kind of 1.5, so I don't think he tipped it that much, but I'll round it up to 2, and I'll give my reasons why. And 2 smoking Jays, if you've never seen our rumors roundup, people were talking he could have, but definitely didn't try to. I thought he was very guarded, reserved in how he calculated, another word, and how he answered questions at the Bears press conference earlier today, because he obviously got peppered about the quarterback situation. What do you think about Justin Fields? You want to draft a quarterback? Have you evaluated Caleb Williams? Blah, 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 blah. And as to be expected, he kind of answered with a lot of generalities. But I will say this, and this is why I'm rounding it up to 2 smoking Jays. Adam Johns tweeted this out, and, giving it a second listen, I'm like, you know what, that does catch my attention. He said, when asked specifically about Justin Fields' 2023 season and an evaluation, Shane Waldron mentioned that his focus has been elsewhere, starting with coaching staff building. There will be a draft meeting tonight, too. Those 3 words, focus has been elsewhere, focus was elsewhere. That's pretty interesting to me. Now, are we taking that too literally? Is it just one of those things, well, first things first, you got to put together a staff, then you start. Here's my thing. If I'm an offensive coordinator of the Bears interviewing for this job, I would think I'm evaluating Fields' 2023 season heading into that interview, at least in a lot of the sense of the word. Now, I'm sure he has done some evaluation, and maybe that's just an easy way for him to dodge the question and not dive into it. We've been busy hiring coaches. I got to think he's evaluated it, but that's pretty interesting, especially when you add in the fact, by the way, they got a draft meeting tonight, now that the staff is fully in place. I get the calendar, you got the combine next week, but I thought that was at least somewhat telling, if I'm being completely honest. Now, Waldron also had an interesting quote about what made the Bears appealing when he was going through this process. He says, when you look at it from either lens, it's obviously we're obviously in a unique spot in the draft to have the 1st and 9th overall picks. Just from an organization in general, that's not going to happen too often. And then also a core group of players that are already in place on offense, including the quarterback that played at a high level and has displayed the ability to win football games and make plays. So he did mention the draft capital. He did mention the current quarterback. What he didn't do, and I thought this was very interesting and stood out to me as well, he did not use a single player's name by their name. Like he would say, the quarterback, the receiver, the players on offense, largely in generalities. And I think there was probably a meeting between a lot of the staffers, and especially Poles, Flus, and these coordinators, and especially Waldron, like, hey, man, you're going to get peppered about this quarterback thing. We cannot tip our hand here, so keep it general. And I think that's what he did for the most part. But I still think there's little crumbs you can pick out of these pressers that at least can lead you to think they're doing one thing or another. Do I walk away from this press conference thinking they are for sure drafting Caleb Williams, they are keeping Justin? No, but I think there are little things like the focus has been elsewhere. We have a draft. That are pretty interesting to me. So just something to take note of. I don't think what we heard in the 20 minutes earlier is there's the answer. I think they've been leaning one way for a while. I still think they're leaning that way. I don't think anything's going to be finalized until they meet with these guys at the combine. Now, you take a guess here. Who does Shane Waldron want as his quarterback? Type JF for Justin Fields, CW for Caleb Williams. If you think it's someone else, drop their name down in the comments. Pinned comment on today's show. Let me know down there, JF for Fields or CW for Williams. Let's shift to the defensive side of the ball. Are the Bears going to sign an impactful defensive lineman? I think they are. I'll go 3 smoking Jays. I do think it's pretty likely. I thought that going into today. I think it even more so after hearing Eric Washington talk. And there's something in particular that he said that made me think that. Here was a quote that he had to say earlier today. We're going to be a team that generates pressure with the front 4. We're going to build the best pass rush in football We have the personnel to get that done, he said later. Coming up, I'm going to analyze the Bears front four and why his part of we have the personnel to get that done, there could be some truth to that, but the reality is they're going to need to add to that if they want to be a team that wins consistently with that front four, so stay tuned for that. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about our sponsor first. That is Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy with Prize Picks at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. The NBA is back as the All-Star break is over, so it makes playing daily fantasy that much easier as we've got a bunch of NBA games going on from here on out. Pick 2 to 6 players on any given entry, and if they will go for more or less with specific stat projections like this for the rest of the season, Trae Young, more or less than 9.5 30-plus point games. I'm going to go less there. I am going to go with more when it comes to Jaylen Brown. I do think he's going to have a big second half. $10 on this entry to win 30. 2-player entries, you can win up to 3x. 6-player entries, you can win up to 25x. But you can do it within individual games. You can do it for points, rebounds, assists, fantasy points, more or less. It's that easy. They're not going to give you like 6 options within one player. It's they give you a stat line, you take more or less, you pair it with other players, boom, you cash in if you hit. So check it out today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS and play daily fantasy with Prize Picks. Okay, you look at this defensive line now, stemming off that Eric Washington quote. We want to win with our front four. Well, you got Montez Sweat. We know he can win his matchups. Do you have anyone else that wins consistently? I think Javon Dexter came on a little bit last year. Justin Jones is a free agent. We'll see what happens there. DeMarcus Walker is a fine player, nothing special. Andrew Billings more of a run stuffer. I think a couple of things stand out to me. One, Eric Washington has a rich history of developing defensive linemen, and I think that's going to be a big focus with Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens. I think Dexter's got much more potential there. I think Pickens' floor could be a tick higher, but Dexter, I think, out of those two is kind of the freaky, twitchy, like high upside interior rusher that you're looking at. So maybe he's in line for a big year too. Got to develop him. But I also think build the best defensive line, build the best pass rush in football. You got to add more. Like you just don't have enough right now to make that claim. So who are you going to add? Well, here are 10 free agent edges, and there's some good ones. Now, Josh Allen, Brian Burns, very little chance they hit the open market. They're prime tag candidates. Danielle Hunter, player we've talked about a lot. I like him quite a bit. Bryce Huff, Jonathan Grenard, good options, kind of in that second tier there. Chase Young, 1-year prove-it deal, maybe. I thought Jadeveon Clowney had a good year in Cleveland. If you want to go kind of the vet 1-year route, Leonard Floyd could bring him back. Za'Darius Smith, kind of same deal with Clowney. And then Josh Uche is a younger option who kind of tailed off last year, but 2 years ago was very good for New England. So there's some intriguing edge rushers on the free agent market. There's a big 3 when it comes to defensive tackles: Chris Jones, Justin Madubuike, and Christian Wilkins. Got guys like Leonard Williams too, but he's more of a 1-tech. All 3 of these guys are top tier 3 techs, especially obviously Chris Jones. He's a top 5 player in the league, if you ask me. The Bears have money, and they need to improve their pass rush. Sweat was the first move. And by the way, as time has gone on, can we just appreciate how smart of a move that actually was? This is not a great edge draft class. No one in the draft where they would have been picking at 40 projects to be anywhere close to Montez Sweat. There's just no one in that range. And I think polls recognized that and said, yeah, let's give you a second-round pick because we got to get a pass rusher. And got him, locked him up. Great move. Still have plenty of cap space to add another piece if they want to. So it's interesting. I think development's going to be a vital, but I also think you got to add another talented rusher. I don't think there's any question about that. So pick a defensive lineman that you think the Bears should sign. I mean, if they got one of those 13 players, I'd be pretty happy. I mean, I would love to see a splashy move like a Danielle Hunter in here, or even a Jonathan Grenard, or hell, if Kansas City lets Chris Jones go, I know he's 30. I'd give him $30 million a year. It's going to cost a lot, but the guy just wrecks games, man. Let me know, who do you want to see the Bears sign along that defensive line? And lastly, are the Bears back? I think the Bears are back. Bear down. 4 smoking Jays, and it's not because of what anything Shane Waldron said. It's not because I think Eric Washington's going to be the greatest defensive coordinator of all time. By the way, side note, Matt Eberflus announced that he is going to call plays. It's because the Flus, Scruffy Flus, is here. I mean, look at this guy. It's a different look. He's got the little fade who Jaquan Brisker goes on Twitter said, I told coach he's got to keep the fade. He's got the scruff going. I mean, this is an unbelievable look for Matt Eberflus. It's like he finally has moved on from fifth grade. You know, what's the movie, the Adam Sandler movie, Billy Madison? Like, he's no longer the adult in the kids' room. He's here. He's arrived. I mean, even Roley's on board. Roley, last year, the guy just doesn't have the look of a winning head coach, which I agree with. This guy looks like a winner, man. I mean, there's obviously some satire happening here, but, like, this is a much better look for the Flus. And I'm a big look guy. Like, you got to look the part as a head coach. Coordinator, I don't care. Head coach, got to look the part. This is a good look. Now, he better not go clean-shaven, extra gel with whatever he had going on before. Proper gel here on the hair. The scruff's looking good. He's got the little, the zip up, the quarter zip. This is a good look. I'm in. I'm in on this Flus. I hope this is a different energy we hear from Matt Eberflus moving forward. I'm all for it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more Bears content, news, rumors. We'll be at the Combine next week. Lots of clips, hopefully a lot of interviews to come from that as well. Should be a fun time, so be sure you're keeping it tapped in here at youtube.com/BearsNow. Turn on those notifications as well. That way you never miss out.